Hi guys, this is going to be an informational video for language arts for the week of February 15th. So when we are looking at the Schoology page, you are going to scroll down and click on week 23. And you are going to see the weekly overview. On Monday, you are going to be looking at the wholes letters rubric. This is a grading rubric that lets you know everything that you have to include for your wholes final project. And you are going to create your plan for both letters. Tuesday and Wednesday, you're going to be working on the first draft. And then on Thursday, you are going to complete a PQP or a partner edit, as well as a self checklist before moving on to the final draft next week. So when you open the Monday folder, you're going to see two things, the first one being the rubric and the second one being the plan. Now the rubric you can just open as a PDF to take a look at how you're going to be graded. And it looks like this. So you can see the exemplary column is worth 15 points, proficient is 10, and emerging is 5. So you want to be over here in the exemplary column getting the most points possible. So the letters effectively tell the story of the same incident in two very different ways. So you are going to be picking one specific event or incident from the novel, and you are going to tell it in the perspective of one child, and then you're going to tell the exact same incident in the perspective of one adult. And this is going to show how you use your voice and how the same event can sound very different based on who is describing it. Organization, the letters are well organized, containing an appropriate salutation. Remember, the salutation is just the line that says, "Dear whoever you're speaking to." Detailed body and a closing with no errors in formatting. Use of language. Each letter contains a consistent and distinct voice that provides a clear sense of the purpose, audience, tone, and context. Again, do you sound like the people that you are pretending to be, both the child and the adult? Conventions, these are just your cups, errors, capitalization, usage, punctuation, and spelling. The writing process, the letters reflect appropriate revisions, meaning on Thursday you completed the PQP and the self checklist. And each letter is at least 8 sentences. So that means that you are going to have 2 letters totaling 16 sentences. Figurative language, you are going to provide 3 uses of figurative language within the 2 letters. It doesn't matter how you disperse them as long as there are 3 total. You do have figurative language notes in your composition notebook. These are things like similes, metaphors, personification. And the last category is vocabulary. You are to use 3 vocabulary words within your 2 letters. Again, it doesn't matter how you disperse them as long as there are 3 total. And you can use the vocabulary that we have done on Mondays for the entire school year. But it has to be 3 of the vocabulary words that you have done for language arts. At the end, that makes a total of 105 points for your wholes final project. You don't need to complete anything here. This is just for your information. You can kind of use it as a checklist to make sure that you are including everything that you have to. The second thing that you're going to see on Monday is the wholes letter plan, and you need to open this with Cami. And it's going to look like this. And you are going to have 2 of them that look the exact same because you are completing 2 letters. So this is going to help you plan out your letter. So it's a spot for your salutation, dear whoever you're going to be writing to. You're going to pick this based on your incident or your event from the novel. So based on the event, who would you possibly want to write a letter to explaining what happened or perhaps complaining about what happened? The incident, what event are you going to be discussing? Remember, you are picking one singular event for both letters. Perspective, who are you writing from? So this first one should be one of the children campers, and the second one should be an adult. Voice and tone, what voice does your character have? How are you going to sound like this person? Figurative language, what figurative language are you going to use in this letter? What vocabulary words are you going to use in this letter? And then how are you going to close? Is it going to be love, sincerely, or your friend? Again, you are going to choose this based on who you're writing to. And then the signature should be the name of the person that you are pretending to be. The second one looks the exact same. The only difference is this should be the adult that you are choosing to write from. So this is going to be the plan that you fill out prior to completing your first draft. So that is going to be the Monday folder. When you go into the Tuesday and Wednesday folder, this is going to be your whole's first draft. And that is going to be on a Google Doc. And it just looks like this. So I just put a spot for your name, date, hour, put whole's letter first draft. Letter 1, one of the boys' perspectives. And then if you scroll down, letter 2, one of the adults' perspectives. So you can kind of just type on this specific document in order to submit your first draft. Your figurative language and your vocabulary needs to be highlighted. So this is the marker highlighter tool right here. So make sure that when you're using any figurative language or vocabulary, I suggest using 2 different colors, one for figurative language and one for vocabulary. You highlight it, that way I can easily see that you have completed that portion and give you points for that. And then finally, we have the Thursday folder, which is going to be the PQP and the checklist. So after you're done with your first draft, you are going to do the PQP, which is a partner edit. Now, those who are online learners, you're probably going to ask a parent if they would be willing to fill this out for you. So you can see there's a 1 and a 2 under each specific portion, and that is because you have 2 letters. So the first part, praise, they are going to find one thing that they think is good about the paper. Question, point out at least one thing in the paper on which they might have a question, maybe something like, I didn't see any figurative language. And the final thing, polish, point out at least one thing that could make the paper better. Their polish might be, you need to add an additional 2 sentences to make it to a total of 8. Again, 1 for the first letter, 1 for the second. This should be completed by a partner, meaning a parent, or if you want to send your paper to another student and have them complete it, you could do that as well. And then the final thing you're going to see in the Thursday folder is the self checklist. Again, this is going to be through Cami. And this is going to be something that you check off yourself as you're looking through this, okay? So your letter begins with a salutation. You depict one event. It's told from the perspective of one child and one adult. They have voice, descriptive details, evidence from the novel. Sentences began with capitals and ended with punctuation. Each letter is at least, so we have 10 sentences if you are my advanced class, so that is 6th hour and 7th hour, and then 8 sentences if you are any other hour per letter. Figurative language in your letter, again, if you are in my 6th hour or my 7th hour, you need 4 pieces of figurative language, and the rest of my hours need 3. Same thing with vocabulary. If you are in my 6th hour and my 7th hour, you need 4 pieces of vocabulary, and everyone else needs 3. And your letters have an appropriate closing. Says, I have checked my letters to the best of my ability and made any changes that were necessary to the checklist, and you are going to sign at the bottom. Again, this is a self checklist, and I apologize, I did not mention earlier, but again, my advanced classes, 6th hour and 7th hour, you have a few more obligations, 10 sentences, 4 pieces of figurative language, and 4 pieces of vocabulary. So you are going to complete the self checklist. And that is going to be your week for February 15th. And then next week, we will begin the final draft. Please reach out to me if you have any questions.